Hi everyone, thank you for joining me on Breakout. This is Kathy Imani. Last time I spoke about how a certain heartbreak, how that went. And as you can hear, I'm not doing badly. So I've not been offline because I was mourning or anything. But I've just done exams, and that's what I wanted to kind of like talk about today, that experience. You see, I went back to school, and my class had graduated 12 years earlier. My class graduated 2012, so 11 years, so to speak. I'll be graduating 12 years after. And in that 11 years, I tried to go back and finish about 4 different times. It didn't work. There was always something coming up. And eventually I started to pursue this again. I'd be discouraged and sometimes just wait until the next year, or I would start the process again, and for a month it looks like it's going somewhere and then no headway. And I understood later that there must have been quite some warfare. And we do that with projects sometimes. You're working on something and then the enemy comes. But I'm here to tell you today, don't let the enemy stop you in your tracks. That's not his job. The enemy really works hard to be a traffic policeman when he has no jurisdiction whatsoever, except that we give him space. How do we give him space? We give him space because of our own actions or inactions. If you dropped out of school, say, because you were inconsistent, or you failed to do exams, or you made some bad choices, that is a consequence. That is an issue, and it gives the enemy a space to come and operate with, and then you suffer a consequence. So you find you didn't finish school, so you don't have that certificate, and other people have progressed and you're still in that place, or you still have that open. You can imagine the guys I went to school with now are way younger. Some of them a decade plus. And they'd ask me, why did you come back? And I said, primarily I'd been saying, because I don't like to leave things unfinished. And that is the character of God. And so I can see how God is working on me every day. We see God works on us to be better. And the Lord actually put in my heart that he's going to see this thing to completion, because he doesn't leave things halfway. And so I don't want to be a person that leaves things halfway. But I also came to realize that as much as I want to finish this so that it's behind me, there must have been, I don't know what to say, because of the warfare. This war then, if it remains like that, the enemy will have won. I'll have suffered defeat. But I love God and I serve God, and so if I'm walking with God, I cannot be suffering defeat. And so God bringing this thing to completion is so that after the battle, I can see the victory. I will have something to show for it. There are always results. There are always results. You've been through something, you will always have a result. And for those of us who are walking with God, or if you are walking in the plan of God, because I realize God can work with anybody as long as you're willing, it's your willingness to partner with God that counts, then God will give you a victory. So my finishing is a victory. My doing well in school is a victory. My passing is a victory. My acquiring a certificate of degree or completion or whatever is a victory. You go through a process. Every process has a start, a middle, and an end. God brings things to the end. That is why we call him faithful. There's a verse in Isaiah, and forgive me, nowadays I've not really been looking up my Bible verses in advance. I should be, I guess it's just exam mode and all that. I've been a little scattered. But there's a verse in Isaiah, I think around the 50s there. And it says, do I bring to the place of birth and not give strength to deliver? Do I walk with you through a pregnancy? Do I bring full term and then leave you at the point of delivery? That's not how God does it. God works things through. Okay? So my encouragement today would be not to quit. If you're experiencing warfare, ask the Lord what that's about. I wish I did that sooner. I wish I did it earlier, actually. I think I only asked about it when I realized that I'd been getting setbacks multiple times. But by then, some years had progressed. Had I known to ask from the onset, from the day I wanted to go back, actually, had I learned to ask then, probably I'd have done this faster. Nonetheless, I think the victory is sweeter now because I'm older now. I mean, the odds have been greater. The longer you take, the greater the odds. And so for me, this is a real victory. Don't let the enemy stop you in your track. So if you've left something undone, if you've left a relationship unresolved, and it wasn't time for that person to exit, it wasn't time for you to cut ties, I'd encourage you to seek God about how to approach it and then leave it resolved. I think God hardly leaves things unresolved. Maybe they are for a later date, but I don't see anything that God has left unresolved. He says the good work he has begun, he is faithful to bring it to completion. That is in Philippians chapter 1. So, if God is in it, then he should see you through it. Don't look at the amount of opposition you're facing and think it's because you're on the wrong track. Sometimes the opposition is actually the devil trying to throw you a deterrent because he knows if you carry it through to completion, it will be a great victory. And because of the way God works, the victory does not just affect you as an individual, it affects generations. It impacts people in your spheres. It impacts even generations that come to hear about you later. Think of how historians, when we read about the people that made history back in the day, they had a struggle and then they overcame. And now we read about them and we appreciate them. They were trailblazers. They showed us the way. They stood for something. Then we are encouraged. So if they didn't do that, we would not have a point of reference to look back to. So the same thing with you. It is not an individual victory only. It's a victory that is going to affect people far and wide, especially if the attack has been great. It likely means the magnitude of what or who it's supposed to impact is just as great. Keep going. If you need to go back to it, revisit and ask the Lord to show you what is the new thing in this situation. John 16 verse 13, we are told by Jesus that when the Holy Spirit comes, and he has come, we know he has come, he will tell you all things. He will lead you into all truth. So if you can't understand why something isn't working and it's been left undone and it was in the will of God for your life and your purpose, because God is big on purpose, then ask the Holy Spirit to show you the truth in that situation. God defends purpose. And I've seen this even with unbelievers. You'll find an unbeliever walking in their calling and thriving, doing extremely well. Because, you see, salvation is a totally different matter. When we get born again, it gives us different perks. But because of God's immense love for people and because he defends that which he creates, that which originates from him, he will defend. That's why he defends marriage. Whether you're a believer in Jesus Christ or not, he will defend marriage. God will defend, the institution of marriage, yeah? God will defend you walking in your calling with or without salvation. I know many believers who are not walking in their calling and so are striving and they're struggling. But if you walk according to the purpose and the calling of God for your life, then you find things just unfold, because God will not allow something He originated to fail. He is too faithful to fail, but He's never done anything that failed. So He will never be associated with failure. If there's that thing that is undone, before the year ends, before we put a close on 2023, I'd encourage you to go back, ask God to show you what is going on there and how to navigate so that He can bring it to completion. What part are you supposed to play? What is it that has caused a hindrance? And then set your face like flint, like Isaiah says. Set your face like flint and keep moving forward. Keep forging on. The victory must come. After every battle, there must be a victory. Because if you're walking with God, there are only two ends anyway. It either ends in defeat or victory. It cannot end in defeat. Not for you. So I speak life into you today. I speak strength for you today. And I speak victory. I hope that encourages you. See you on the next episode. I hope to do this at least one more time before we close the year. Yeah, depending on how things go. But I'll see you next time. Thank you for joining me. Yours faithfully, Imani.